Hello, students. Let's continue with the chapter number 3, Poverty as a Challenge. First of all, we are going to read about the interstate disparities, which means that the proportion of poor people is not the same in every state of India. हर state का जो proportion है, हर state में जो poor लोग हैं उनका proportion बहुत ही अलग अलग है. And as the graph shows that Orissa and Bihar continue to be the two poorest states with the highest poverty ratio of 47 and 43% respectively. Along with rural poverty, urban poverty is also high in Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, and Uttar Pradesh. While in comparison to these states, there have been a significant decline in poverty in Kerala, Jammu Kashmir, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, and West Bengal. So, we can say that in India also different states have different proportions of poor population. Now, like the different states have different proportion of poverty, similarly the global poverty scenario, which means the scenario of poverty in different countries, is also very different. The proportion of people in developing countries living in extreme economic poverty, defined by the World Bank as living on less than $1 per day. As we have already discussed कि वर्ल्ड बैंक के हिसाब से अगर कोई भी कंट्री में if a person is unable to earn $1 per day, then he or she becomes part of the poor population of that country. So we can see that in the developing countries the proportion of poverty, though it is becoming less, it is declining, but still the condition is not very good compared to the developing country. However, we have seen certain changes in the poverty in countries like China, but in countries, as you can see in the table, in the countries like Nigeria, Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, the population of poverty is quite high, and especially Nigeria, which is a African country. In Africa, we generally see that the poverty ratio is very high compared to the other countries. So, we can conclude that poverty ratio is different in different countries, as well as within the country there are regional differences in the poverty ratio. Now, one of the most important aspect of poverty is to know the causes behind this poverty, especially in our country where we see that poverty is quite widespread. अब हम ये जानेंगे कि why India is facing such a huge challenge of poverty. So, one of the historical reasons is the low level of economic development under the British colonial administration. We all know that Britishers has colonized our country, और उस colonization के period में, because of the coming up of various machineries and everything, the traditional handicraft industries of India, they declined. When the industries declined, the people became jobless, and when they became jobless there was very low growth rate of the income. And with the joblessness we see the rise of the population because of the unemployment and rising population. When we combine these two, the per capita income, which means per person income in a country, it becomes low. Now, this was one reason why poverty is widespread in India. Another reason is that although we have studied earlier that there was green revolution in India, but the green revolution was very limited to some states only. Apart from it, in industries both in public and private sector, though there were some jobs, but it was not able to absorb all the job seekers in our country. And when people are unable to find jobs, they basically shift to the cities in search of different job opportunities, and many people start working as rickshaw pullers, vendors, construction workers, etc. We have already studied about the unemployment where the people, they are unable to get work with, because of which they are willing to do work at the lower wages. Though government has made various policies regarding the proper land distribution and equal access to resources, still there are people who are unable to get the proper and their equal proportion of resources. बहुत सारे लोग अभी भी ऐसे हैं जिनको equal opportunities नहीं मिलती है, equal resources नहीं मिलते हैं, especially the land resources. Land क्या है, आज भी बहुत जो लोग हैं, कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं, they have ample amount of land in their hand, and because of which the poor people, they are not getting any benefit of the land. Therefore we see that resources are accumulated in hands of some people, and the proportion of these people is very less than the poor people. Therefore we see widespread unemployment because of the unequal distribution of resources. Now apart from these causes, there are many other social, cultural and economic factors that are responsible for poverty, especially the social obligations. We see in our country, social obligations are considered to be very important, especially the religious ceremonies that we see in India. We see that in marriages, people, usually in marriages, they basically spend a lot of money which is not even required. So इससे क्या होता है कि poor लोगों पे बहुत ज़्यादा burden आ जाता है. This money which they have spend extra on the wedding, they can or any other religious ceremony, they can actually use to buy equipments, pesticides, and fertilizers for their agriculture, which can actually improve their productivity. But because of these social ceremonies and everything, they are unable to buy that, and even most of the times they have to take loans because they don't have ample amount of money to perform these religious ceremonies, because of which we see that they have you know they suffer from indebtedness. So these are all the causes of poverty, which is very important topic. Now another important topic is anti poverty measures. So now we have understood कि poverty India में widespread क्यों है, what are the main reasons. Now we are going to understand that what the government has done to eradicate the poverty. So removal of poverty has been one of the major objective of Indian developmental strategy. The current anti-poverty strategy of government is based on two planks, that is the promotion of economic growth and target anti-poverty measures. तो गवर्नमेंट पॉवर्टी को रिमूव करने के लिए उनका जो प्लैंक्स है, विच मीन्स उनका बेस है, वो दो उनकी पॉलिसीज होती हैं, और इट इज़ सेंटर्ड ऑन बेसिकली टू मेन एम्स. एक होता है उनका कि इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ को वो प्रमोट करे, किस तरह से उनकी सारी पॉलिसीज इससे रिलेटेड होती हैं इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसीज, और दूसरी होती है कि जो एंटी पॉवर्टी प्रोग्राम्स लेकर आएँ सो दैट द पीपल who are suffering from poverty, they can eradicate the poverty. So now we are going to study about the various schemes that have been started by government so as to remove poverty. So one of such scheme is National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, that is NREGA, which was basically initiated in year 2005. The act provides 100 days assured employment every year to every rural household in 200 districts. Later the scheme was extended to 600 districts. So in this basically 100 days employment provide किया जाता है to the people of the various districts. Apart from it, the government also established national employment guarantee funds. So similar state governments will establish state employment guarantee funds for implementation of such scheme. So under this program, if an applicant is not provided employment within 15 days, he or she will be entitled to a daily unemployment allowances. Apart from it, there was an important scheme which is known as National Food for Work Program, NFWP, which was launched in 2004 in 150 most backward districts of the country. And the program is open to all rural people, and it is implemented as a 100% centrally sponsored scheme, and main aim is to provide food grains free of cost to these states. Now another scheme is Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Yojana, which was started in 1993, and the main aim of the program, जैसे कि हम नेम से समझ सकते हैं, is to provide self-employed opportunities for educated unemployed youth in the rural areas and small towns. Now we see another program that was initiated by government, that is Rural Employment Generation Program, which was launched in 1995. The aim of this program is to create self-employment opportunities in rural areas and small towns. Another scheme that was started by government in 1999 was Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarozgar Yojana. The program aims at bringing the assisted poor families above the poverty line by organizing them into self-help groups through a mix of bank credit and government subsidies. Self-help help group means that they will create small small groups in different different rural areas, so that वो छोटे छोटे groups और लोगों को help कर सके, so that they can create small businesses and earn their livelihood. Another scheme is the Pradhan Mantri Gramodaya Yojana, which was launched in 2000, and additional central assistance is given to state for basic services such as primary health, education, rural shelter, rural drinking water, and rural electrification, which means कि ग्रामोदय मीन्स रूरल लोगों के लिए ये योजना स्टार्ट करी गई थी 2000 में, जहाँ पे सेंटर ने स्टेट को मोर फंड्स प्रोवाइड किए थे सो दैट दे कैन improve all these basic services in the rural areas. Another important scheme is Antyodaya Anna Yojana, about which is basically related to providing the an means the food. But what are the results of such program? So the results of such program have been mixed. One of the major reason for less effectiveness is the lack of proper implementation and right targeting. Apart from these schemes, there is a great challenge to poverty as well. Poverty has certainly declined in India, but despite the progress, poverty reduction remains India's most compelling challenge. Why is it so? Because wide disparities in poverty are visible between rural and urban areas and among different states. Certain social and economic groups are more vulnerable to poverty, as we have already studied. ऐसा हमेशा बोला जाता है कि next 10 years or next 15 years it is possible that because we will have high economic growth, the poverty would be reduced, and we have seen that government has also initiated various programs, and also there is increasing empowerment of the women and the economically weaker sections in our society. So therefore poverty is a mean still is one of the biggest challenge of our country, which the government plans to eradicate in the upcoming years.